Today we're going to be going through all of the major deaths that took place in the Witcher series. Just so you know, this list is not going to include every single death in the Witcher series, considering this story takes place in a very violent and unforgiving world, plus 2 different wars took place between 7 novels, and I don't want this video to be 3 days long. But we will cover the deaths of major characters and deaths that I consider to be impactful. And we'll be starting the list with Queen Calanthe. Queen Calanthe, Ciri's grandmother, ruled over Cintra and played a significant role in her upbringing after Ciri's mother, Calanthe's daughter, passed away when she was a baby. Known as the Lioness of Cintra, she was a feared and respected ruler, but her power lasted only until the superior Nilfgaardian Empire declared war and invaded her lands. But Calanthe didn't stand down. She stood in battle with her soldiers and fought tirelessly. Unfortunately, Cintra's defeat was imminent and she took bad wounds during the battle. After the fight, she returned to the castle in Cintra, where she threw herself from the battlements, since none of her remaining knights or soldiers would take her life for her. Tissaia was an archmage, a member of the Chapter of Wizards, and the former rectoress of the School for Sorceresses, where she educated many girls in sorcery, Yennefer included. Her role in the story is pretty minimal, but her death was directly related to the pivotal event, the Thanedd Coup. The Thanedd Coup was the event where Northern supporting mages and Nilfgaard supporting mages tried to catch each other unawares, but ultimately led to the deaths of many members of the Brotherhood. Although Tissaia didn't die during the coup, she was heavily involved in the events that took place that day. When the North supporting mages captured the Nilfgaard supporting mages, Tissaia was highly offended and took the side of her handcuffed comrades, claiming they were innocent. She used what some believed to be an impossible spell to release the handcuffs and the magic blockade in place, and once the traitors were free, a battle ensued, resulting in many deaths. Without her interference, a lot of lives may not have been lost. Shortly after the tragic events of that day, Tissaia, overcome with guilt, wrote a letter, ensured her surroundings and attire were tidy and in order, satisfying her pedantry one last time, and took her life. The young gang the Rats honestly survived longer than they probably should have. The 6 young reckless gang members, plus Ciri, committed lots of crimes, earning the attention of local authorities and rulers. Their infamy gave cause for many to want them dead, and for bounty hunters seeking their high bounty. Enter Leo Bonhart, the ruthless, skilled bounty hunter who was hired by Nilfgaardian rebel Stefan Skellen, along with other local rulers, to take out the Rats. The gang were eventually led right to Bonhart to kill him themselves in an effort to further their formidable reputation. All 6 Rats threw themselves at Bonhart, and all 6 of them died violently by his sword. Milva was living in Broccolon Forest among the Dryads when Geralt arrived in the forest to receive treatment for the injuries he received fighting Vilgefortz during the Thanedd Coup. Milva was tasked by the Dryad ruler to head into local towns and gather information that Geralt wanted relating to Ciri and Yennefer, since he had no idea what happened to them during the coup. At first, Milva mocked Geralt until she realized how pained he truly was by the information she delivered. When Geralt headed out to rescue Ciri, Milva decided to help him since he was heading right into areas where Nilfgaard was aggressively waging war. She came to develop fondness and respect for Geralt and decided to stick with him during his entire mission to find Ciri, including to the place where he eventually found her, Staiga Castle, aka Vilgefortz's hideout. It was here where Milva's life came to a tragic end. The castle was filled with men who tried to stop Geralt and his company's advance through the castle. In an effort to allow Geralt and the others to move further into the castle, Milva used her superb archery skills to defend her comrades from getting shot by Vilgefortz's men. Left open and exposed, Milva was sadly shot herself, and her story came to an end while lost in a memory of her late father. Although he never knew Ciri well, Cahir had discovered strong feelings for her after Emperor Emir sent him to capture her twice. This led to him following Geralt when Geralt was looking for Ciri. Geralt reluctantly allowed Cahir to join the company, but they eventually became comrades. Ciri, on the other hand, didn't know he was on Geralt's side when she ran into him in Staiga Castle. She thought Cahir was still hunting her all the way here, but when she saw him with Angoulême and heard his explanation that they were there to rescue her, she began to understand he wasn't what she initially thought. This meeting between Ciri and Cahir and Angoulême took place while Ciri was being pursued by the dangerous and malicious Leo Bonhart. As Bonhart approached her, she tried convincing him that Cahir was the Witcher Geralt. Cahir didn't deny this and stepped up to fight Bonhart and give Ciri a chance to run away. Unfortunately, Cahir gave it his all, but could not defeat the man who allegedly killed 3 Witchers. And so Bonhart claimed another life, and Cahir died in Staiga Castle defending Ciri, the girl whose dreams he haunted for many nights. Angoulême, the young woman who closely resembled Ciri, also joined Geralt in his mission to rescue his daughter who Angoulême had never met. She was the last member to join the company and followed Geralt to the end of their mission in Steiga Castle. It was there that one of the lackeys fighting off Geralt's company managed to stab Angoulême in the leg with a pilum. The stab didn't immediately kill her. She carried on with Ciri, who she had just located in the castle right before taking the wound. Eventually, the wound got so bad that she had to stop walking, even with Ciri's assistance, and died in Ciri's arms, declaring that her idea of opening a brothel in Toussaint was a better way of making a living. Taking a quick break to ask you to subscribe if you haven't already, and to like the video if you're enjoying it. It really helps out a lot. I also wanted to let you know that I live stream on Twitch a couple of days a week, so if you check out the link in the description, we can hang out there. Okay, that's all. Back to the video. Regis the vampire joined the company when the group consisted of Geralt, Dandelion, Milva, and the dwarves. They first stumbled upon him while he was hiding in an ancient elven cemetery. He kindly invited them back to his shack for his homemade mandrake moonshine, which not only solidified his connection with the group, but led to his integration into their company. Moved by Geralt's commitment to find Ciri, Regis was compelled to join the cause, yet his vampiric nature gave Geralt reservations about including him. But Regis's persistence paid off, and he stuck with Geralt and the group through the end of their mission in Steiga Castle, where Regis met his end. Geralt found Yen, and the duo took part in a difficult fight against Vilgefortz. Regis joined the fight, saving Yennefer's life in the process, but despite Geralt's warning to beware, the powerful sorcerer got the upper hand and used magic to tear Regis apart, and then blasted him with a white fire that essentially melted the vampire into an amorphous lump. After the fight, when Yennefer asked Geralt if Regis was human, he answered by saying that Regis was the epitome of humanity. The bounty hunter Leo Bonhart was a very ambitious man who had a strong desire for money and retirement. His desire was so great that when he realized that Ciri, who he captured after killing the rats, was not a commoner but someone much more important, he dragged her far and wide, almost literally, as she had a collar around her neck. When he finally learned exactly who she was, he agreed to sell her to Vilgefortz for what must have been a large sum. But when Ciri escaped, Bonhart joined Vilgefortz at Steiga Castle, where he was staying at the time of Ciri's arrival. Bonhart pursued her throughout the castle until Ciri eventually realized that she had no choice but to fight him, accepting that this would probably end with her demise. Ciri fought and fought until she finally got the upper hand, striking an almost mortal blow. Bonhart was gravely wounded on the floor when Ciri decided to leave him there to die, but the ever dishonorable bounty hunter tried to kill her with her back turned. Ciri's Witcher training, along with the lessons she learned from Bonhart himself, kicked in just in time for her to strike him down for good and take his prized Witcher medallions from him. Vilgefortz was a terribly evil yet extremely capable sorcerer who was determined to gain even more power from the elder blood gene that lived in Ciri. He kidnapped Yennefer, tortured and kept her prisoner in his hideout of Steiga Castle. Ciri showed up to his hideout to save Yennefer, which wouldn't have been successful had it not been for the sudden interference of Geralt and the company. Geralt and the recently freed Yennefer engaged in a fight with Vilgefortz. After a particularly grueling battle that didn't seem like Geralt and Yen could win, Geralt used a magical medallion made for him by the sorceress Fringilla Vigo to cast illusionment, causing Vilgefortz to miss his blows aimed at the Witcher. This, along with his poor depth perception caused by the explosion of Tor Lara on Thanedd when Ciri used the tower's portal, were the reasons that Geralt was able to land his final blow, defeating Vilgefortz and bringing about his much-welcomed death. While waiting for Ciri and Yennefer in a tavern in Rivia with his pals Dandelion, Zoltan, and Yarp and Zegrin, a pogrom broke out outside. This happened only moments after Geralt announced to his friends his decision to retire as a Witcher and to give up risking his neck for others. After the pogrom began, he temporarily changed his mind and headed outside to help the persecuted dwarves, declaring, "This is the last time." It really was the last time. As he slashed and stabbed the attackers, he took a pitchfork to the gut from a young man he had just shown mercy. Yennefer arrived shortly after and tried to save him with magic, but it was too late. His body expired, and the protagonist of the series breathed his last breath while surrounded by loved ones. Yennefer, along with Triss and Ciri, had just arrived in Rivia to meet Geralt when the pogrom began. Ciri knew that Geralt was in trouble, so she took off on her incredibly fast horse to try and find him. Yennefer chased after Ciri, but the bloodthirsty mob got in her way and caused her a lot of harm. Thanks to Triss, Yennefer was saved and the pogrom came to an end, which allowed Yen and Triss to find Geralt. Like previously stated, Yen arrived too late. She tirelessly attempted to use magic to save him, tears welling up, a behavior she had been warned against as a young sorceress and had also cautioned Ciri to avoid. Yen wouldn't give up trying to save the man she loved. She used her magic abilities until she used all of her life force and expired right alongside Geralt. There is some debate about whether or not Geralt and Yen actually died. Right after this moment, the unicorn Iwerequax arrived and guided Ciri to a boat that all of the surrounding friends helped place Geralt and Yen on, and Ciri then set off on the boat with their bodies. They both later woke up alone in a land with apple trees, similarly to the Isle of Avalon from Arthurian legend. Sapkowski doesn't provide enough context for us to know if this is meant to be heaven, a real place in the real world, or a place like heaven where Geralt and Yen will stay until they've recovered and can later return to their world. Since it's open to interpretation, my interpretation is that Geralt and Yen actually died. Their bodies cease to operate like a living person's does. I'm open to the possibility that they could return from the place with the apple trees, but as far as what happened in Rivia goes, they belong on this list. Thank you for watching this video, especially since it covers the more grim events of the series. Let me know if there's any character deaths in the story I didn't include that you found to be impactful. For example, a character that we got to know in the prequel novel, Season of Storms, the sorceress Coral, died during the events in the main series. There's also Ciri's mother Pavetta, Stefan Skellen, and some others I left off this list, so if there's another character that wasn't included that you want to talk about, let me know in the comments.